have one scenario that happened in my church, in my former church, where a lady gave birth to a child and eventually put the child in a dustbin or in a nylon bag and threw the child away. Like immediately she gave birth to the child, she did that. So in my head, why would you even go through the stress of carrying that child to full term when you know that you will still kill the child?
So when someone is irresponsible, do you think they care about themselves?
According to UNICEF, over 8 million children are abandoned. These children stay in foster homes, or in Africa, they stay in orphanages, or some just roam about. Child abandonment is simply neglecting a child below the age of 16, depriving that child of parental or emotional support. On today's episode of the Red Room Dialogue, we will be discussing child abandonment and its impact on their mental health. I am Petra Aride, your host, and you are very much welcome to another episode of the Red Room Dialogue. We will be going on a short break, and when we get back, we will introduce our guest and discuss in details this very touching conversation. Don't go anywhere. We will be right back. Welcome back. This is the Red Room Dialogue, a show where we delve deep into the intricacies of love, sex, marriage, and relationship. I said earlier that we had guests in the studio, but before our guests, I cannot skip my wonderful and amazing co-host, the person of Omobolawa Olawore. Hi, darling.
Hi. How are you doing, Petra?
I'm very well, thank you. Welcome. How are you?
I'm alright, pushing it in Lagos, surviving.
You're surviving and glowing.
I do my best.
Now, on to the guest of the day. She is the director of Clare Cares Foundation. She's also a film director. Her name is Clare Ezeakacha. Welcome to the show. How are you?
I'm very well, and you?
I'm very well, thank you. You look very calm, poised, demure.
It's just packaging.
But I like this calm before the storm. I like it. It's good.
How you doing?
Very well, thank you.
Great.
So let's just, hit the nail on the head, yeah?
Okay.
Our topic, as I mentioned earlier, is child abandonment and its effect on their mental health. And you are a humanitarian. I'm sure you've encountered this case in your humanitarian years. But before we go, how many years have you been doing this officially and unofficially?
Okay, so officially I've been doing it for 5 years. Unofficially it's been like 20 years.
Wow, that's a long time. It's almost 2 decades.
20. Where was I then? I think I was like wearing Pampers.
Come on.
2004?
Come on.
2004.
2004. Where was I? Oh yeah. I was in the university, almost done. It's cool.
That is really inspiring.
That's also really young. What prompted you to say, okay,
Really young?
Yes.
Really?
Just done with uni. You're trying to figure out life after uni.
You look 25 if I may say. You look 25.
Thank
Yes,
you.
actually.
So
Thank you.
what really prompted you to, start it, as Paula said?
Okay, yeah. So I had always loved to give, right from my primary school days. My mom would always remind me of how I would permit me to say, put Macy on her head when I would tell her that, they sent this person out of school. Mommy, please, can you pay the fees so that she comes back to school? And that was how it grew to my parents actually would say, let's go to the orphanage. So I understood what that was. I understood what not being privileged was at a very tender age. And then I had that love for them to always want to wear my clothes properly so it doesn't get torn and we can give them out. Because my mom says, we can't give them any torn clothes or any clothes that looks shabby. So I was always careful. And then that was how it all started.
Amazing.
Amazing.
Train your child in the way he or she should grow. And when he or she grows, they will not depart. That is very wonderful. Shout out to mom and dad. So I said that you've experienced this, or I'm sure you've experienced this within the course of your journey. Now, what is the cause of child abandonment? Why would people just sit down or stand or think or wake up and say, oh, I want to abandon this child? Why?
Okay, so sometimes it could be as a result of poverty, it could be as a result of lack of interest, it could be as a result of sheer irresponsibility. It's an individual thing. So there is no, oh, this is the reason why people abandon their children. I could say, I am done with this man and I don't think I want to see him. And every time I see this child, he reminds me or she reminds me of this man, I am done. It could be as a result of, I'm checking my pockets, I'm seeing my bank account. I can't. I don't even have people who would help me. It could be as a result of me saying, you know what, I need to live my life till I'm a certain age, and maybe I'll pick him or her up later. So many reasons.
You know, it was only recently I found out that there's a difference between orphanages and motherless baby home. Like, I didn't know that. And that was, is there fatherless baby homes too?
No.
No.
No,
Okay.
there is motherless and then
Yes,
there is the orphanage.
orphanage.
But then the truth is, they still would need to accommodate if it's fatherless, if it's motherless, but the name stands motherless home or orphanage homes. Yes.
Interesting. It's a very noble cause that you've chosen to like take up, because Lagos is a crime scene. In Lagos, you can be walking down the streets. If you are driving, you can see like a 5-year-old just on the road begging, and then it breaks your heart. So I just want to know, does the government help? Do you get like grants or, you know, incentives from the government to help your foundation? I know you guys get like tax breaks, but what else do you guys get from the government to help your case?
Okay, so first call of action is the human part of you wants to help, irrespective of if the government is going to help you or not. So people would run an NGO for 10 years and they probably never get grants. And not
Really?
Yes. It's a difficult one to get a grant.
Really?
Yes, I got my first grant 3 years ago. And that was to renovate an orphanage home that I partnered with for 2 years, right? So yes, the government tries, I would be honest. You know, sometimes they actually send people, you know, like a force of people, certain people who will go to the streets to pick children, bring them to a certain place, they feed them. So these are not the things the media would carry every time.
Yeah.
Because sometimes the government will not even say so much about it. But there are people who sit at the helm of affairs and then talk about this thing with the government. And then they create a platform where, you know, they are able to feed them, clothe them, and all of that.
You know, you mentioned earlier that part of the causes of this child abandonment is sheer irresponsibility. I have one scenario that happened in my church, in my former church, where a lady gave birth to a child and eventually put the child in a dustbin or in a nylon bag and threw the child away. Like immediately she gave birth to the child, she did that. So in my head, why would you even go through the stress of carrying that child to full term when you know that you will still kill the child?
That's right there is a definition of irresponsibility. There's no better way to explain it.
No, we also need to look at like the other side, because abortions are illegal in Nigeria. And family planning and all those contractions and contraceptives, they are not readily available. Sometimes the information is not out there. I also schooled in like Unilago still, and I remember in year 1 there was a scenario where we saw should I say a baby or a fetus, I don't even know what to call it, in the toilet. That was horrified. It was like my first year there, and I was horrified. So the lady had taken something, and the baby was not full term, so the baby was stillborn, and it was really, really horrible.
So when someone is irresponsible, do you think they care about themselves?
They have to. Like you have to. Self-preservation has to be involved on some level.
When people drink, you know, without limits, that's irresponsibility. At that point, do you think they are caring about who they are at the point? No. Irresponsibility is you're doing the wrong things and you're not at that point thinking of yourself. You just want it done the way it is ringing in your head. That's how it is. So it could be irresponsibility, like I said. It could be irresponsibility, it could be poverty, it could be a lack of interest. So say you're a man, and then we have a thing, you get pregnant. And then we have misunderstanding in between the 9 months. And then we realize we can't actually walk through this again. My life is turning right there. My life is literally turning. I'm not sure how it's going to be. I'm not sure how my parents would say, would they help me take care of these kids? What if my parents are in the village? What if I have nobody? At that point, I'm thinking, what is the next action? So if I'm going to be with this child after giving birth, this is not excusable. I'm not here to say, oh, they are right. We're only trying to say, imagine reasons people do because of conversations I've had with people over time. So it would amaze you the kind of things they do, or the kind of things they think of just to do it. And at that point, they don't think of the child. It's them first.
Now we've talked about the causes here. Let's examine the circumstances. And for me, I will start with the I don't know if I should say the female not listening to what the male has to say. Because there are certain, I've heard of women who get pregnant to trap a male. So I love this man. I feel like he's the right candidate for me to spend the rest of my life in deja vu. And I get pregnant for this man. And this man doesn't like me. This man doesn't want me. But I still get pregnant. And this man has told me that, young lady, if you get pregnant for me, you have to abort the pregnancy. But because you have coconut head, you say, oh no, I don't want it. I don't think. Is that enough reason for a person to abandon the child? Because in Nigeria, we don't get to see laws that are backing these things. And I know before the show, you were saying that not all laws work in Nigeria. So is that enough reason for you to abandon a child? Even after, there's a part of human sympathy, as the father, after saying, I don't want to, but this child, she says she doesn't want to, let me keep the baby. So is that even enough reason for a woman to, do that to a child, or for a father to abandon the child?
Okay, so it's a 2-week thing, right? So now the woman says, oh, I'm going to get pregnant irrespective of what he says. And he keeps insisting that he doesn't want. There's a reason behind why he's saying that. Now, for men, they may not naturally come out to explain to you and say, oh, this is why I don't want you to have a child for me, or this is the reason I don't want to have a child. Men are less expressive than women. Women will go all out to explain it. But he's saying, I don't want it. But you, like you said, with coconut head, you are insisting that this child will have the child. And then you give birth and then you realize that he's actually being serious. What if this man is also looking at his own life? He's not ready for it. Did you think about it? Did you think about the fact that, oh yes, I know we'll come up with, but 2 came together to have a child, right? Oh yes, I know that will come in.
That came into my head first.
Yeah, I know that will come in, but the truth is, on both sides, if one says he's not ready, I think it's better to hear the part of I'm not ready than the part of I want to do it. Because if he's not ready, he's the man, right? So he's the one who's supposed to assist you, support you with that. If he's saying he's not, except you are saying that you have all the capacity to take care of the child. But if that is not the case, why go ahead to have the child? And then you abandon it and you come up with stories that, you know how ladies will form a group and start saying how this man really destroyed my life, how life has been unfair when I gave birth. But you had conversations with this man who told you outrightly that he's not ready. Why didn't you listen? Why didn't you heed to that advice? And then you give birth, and all of a sudden, you want to drop the child. For who exactly?
They said children are community children. The community will raise
The
them.
village.
It takes a village to raise a child,
Not
right?
with this economy.
But
You know what Pampers is saying now?
Or even baby milk.
milk
Do you know what the
so expensive.
You say you don't want to use Pampers, you want to use napkins. Do you know how much it is?
Oh my god.
So a man says, I am not ready.
But you guys know that this
don't
thing is
want
like
to.
2 ways. There are also men that try to like trap women.
Oh, of course. It's a two
That they see that you are out there, you are like, you have a lot going for you, and they'll be like, I want to this girl. They have no plans to marry you or even take care of that child. You've not heard of it? They're very common.
Of course.
But
it
see,
happens.
what? Look at Offset and Cardi B. They were having like a back and forth. She did like a live video saying, oh, he didn't deserve her, blah, blah, blah. And then he commented, you're still my baby mama. I won.
It
Men,
happened over the weekend, right?
Yes.
I think I saw that.
I didn't follow the live, but I think
yeah. He said, you're still my baby mama. I won. They will do it to stay. I don't know. And I know that Nigerian men do it too. They'll just keep you. They want to stay in your life forever because they see that, oh, you have a lot going for you. So
Sometimes
yeah.
you don't even need to have a lot going for you before a man just wants to have a child with you.
He just wants to have a child
Same
with
way
her.
a woman will just want to have a child with a man. So it's a two-way thing. It's not a gender thing. It's a two-way thing. There are two individuals in it.
so. What other circumstances, leads to things like this? What other circumstances like this story I just narrated from your experience?
Okay, from my experience, there was a young girl who said, a man was going to see her through school if only she would have a child for him. And I mean, her parents even agreed, because she really needed to go to school, so she gave birth for the guy and he traveled out. He traveled out. So at that point, she said she was done. It's not just her. It was the man who proposed that to her. She wasn't ready. She's a young girl.
That's called reproductive abuse. That's actually like a real thing.
But the good thing is, I mean, it took a while for her to be convinced to say, okay, this is your child. At that point, you can't shout at a person. You literally have to make her understand because she's also going through a lot of psychological issues.
Yeah,
my
her
God.
head is not in the
There's
right
a lot in
place.
her head because at that point she's thinking, should I have listened? At that point, I almost said no. 1 million things in her head, So she said no. She's done. She was going to. You can't bring the baby close.
Was
to
it
her.
immediately after she gave birth?
Say 3 weeks ish.
And then she's also going
then
through
he
like the
left.
hormonal thing with
Exactly.
new mothers. Oh my God.
So it wasn't like he even now. I know he doesn't support, not for any reason, but thankfully she has a family. But it took a while for her to accept
Get
it.
to where she is.
Because she said she wasn't going to take care of that child. When you're talking, you're like, no, that child, no, don't bring him close to me. I don't want her
my
close to me here.
God.
So it gets that bad. So sometimes it's not because one wants to abandon the child, but there are circumstances that would surround, the person, and this is not excusable, please.
yes,
So,
yes.
We're only trying to say the things that happen. Yeah. So you hear a lot of things when you meet ladies. It's crazy, but
It all sounds very depressing, to be honest. I don't think I could work in that field. It would make me feel very jaded and just sad. Yes,
Indeed, it
I'm
is
very
depressing,
sad.
but we really need to go on the break right now. Viewers back home, I hope you're really enjoying this conversation, this very touchy conversation. We're going on the break, and when we come back, we'll get to understand the effects, of child abandonment on their mental health in details. Stay with us. Welcome back. This is still the Red Room Dialogue, and our topic is still child abandonment and its impact on their mental health. Before we went on the break, we discussed the causes and the circumstances surrounding the reasons why a human being would opt to abandon his or her child. Now it's time for the effect. Claire, in your years of experience as a humanitarian, I know you have, but I don't want it to look like I'm always saying, I know you have, I know you have, yeah. So have you come across, children or even adults that have suffered from being abandoned? Have you?
Oh, quite a lot of them. So not aside being a humanitarian, even it's just meeting people as Claire. I've met a lot of people who, felt comfortable enough to share with me. Sometimes I'm like, why do you try to please so many people? Why do you think everyone should like you? And then it opens them up to express, I actually grew up with my grandmom. I actually grew up with my aunt. There was no time. I never even knew who my mom was till. I never even knew who my dad was till. You find out that a lot of them are always to themselves because they're not sure how to create a relationship. Now, a lot of them also did not grow in love. They probably did not have the opportunity to grow with their mother. Sometimes, yes, we miss the father's presence. We could miss that, but the mother's love, that's where he or she came from, right? So you're not sure how to create. It affects them mentally. Depression could be a result. Anxiety could be a result. Fear of who would love me, who loves me, do you really love me? Are you genuine to me? Are you true to me? There could be cases of wanting to just isolate themselves. They'll rather just be on their own and be men, even the women will be men, to themselves. They want to curl up to themselves. They want to be just don't want wahala. That kind of thing. They just want to be by themselves. So it's a lot of issues that will come. It differs from one individual to another individual. The effect it will have on you will be different from me. Mine could be very chronic. Yours could be mild. Hers could be a bit intense. So it depends really. It's an individual thing, not a communal thing. We're not all abandoned together.
That's true.
What I'm saying? So yours will be different. So who knows? You're probably abandoned and left at the care of your grandmother, who probably has so much time for you.
Or maybe a grandmother that loaned you out to an uncle or sister that maltreated you.
So
and then you grew up with like evil step cousins. We hear these stories all the time.
So we watch these things in movies and it feels like
growing up. You see growing up, like one like cousin that came to stay with one of our friends and she's always like the maid. She's doing all their chores. Like,
so it's a lot. It affects your self-esteem too.
Yes.
It affects a lot of it. If you have conversations with people randomly, it would amaze you what people have been through. Yes, and how strong they are still standing. Yes. So, sometimes the red lipstick covers a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
The powder we rub covers a lot of stuff. For the men, they're just naturally to themselves, but you just don't know how bad it has gotten to their skin. So it's a crazy one.
And then they never really have like childhood because they have to like grow up really, really quickly.
So they have to like be men or women from their childhood.
Exactly. Yes.
It's even worse. See, there are like two scenarios played in my head. For me, and by the way, a disclaimer, this does not go to say that any of them is good or it is good to abandon your child. But we've also had cases of a not present father. So in this scenario, the father and the mom are married. The father and the mom are together. They say, oh, I want to born this child. They born the child. They love the child and all that you get. But you don't still feel that parental love. You don't still feel like, oh, I have a father I can always come to and confide in. Oh, I got bullied in school. I cannot come back home and tell my mom. Why? Because my mom will even beat me and tell me, when your mate said this to you, why didn't you stand up and say this to them? And it's so bad that African parents, God bless them, because I know I don't know, their tough love is just so tough. Their tough love is just so tough.
Yes, they really love.
Yes, they really love. But sometimes we as children, and I said, Mommy, if you watch this, I'm sending you this thing because you'd have done it to me when I was growing, but I did not do it. I as a child, I'd have wanted my mom to tell me, oh, someone did this XYZ to you. Okay, I'm very sorry about this. But next time,
safe space for you.
But next time when they do this to you, you should be able to stand up and let me give you a very not so funny scenario that happened. So because my mom was Margaret Thatcher, Margaret Thatcher. I grew up in a Jubilee. And it was hot at the time. I don't know how hot it is now, but it was hot at the time. So I had this Margaret Thatcher mom, of course, and she's a nonsense person. So you go to school and you come back and you say, someone did something to you, she'll ask you, why did you not do this back to the person? I thought my mom wasn't present. I felt like I wasn't loved in my own home. And my mom and dad were together. But I felt like I wasn't loved in my own home. And there was this time I offended a particular. I don't know if I offended or he offended me. I can't remember. But this guy was like, "Oh, I'm going to beat you up." Really, I was a butty child. Oh. I don't know, but now it's packaging. But then I was very botticious. Because I didn't want the guy to beat me, I had to remove my eyelash and put it on the floor so he will match it and forget. I did that. It was very crazy, but I did that. But what was running through my head at that point was, I can't tell my mom this thing because if I tell my mom, she's going to beat me. Which now that I'm sitting and thinking about it, it wasn't supposed to be so, because my mom was supposed to buy save heaven. I told my mom when I grew up, I said, "Mommy, I didn't feel like you loved me when I was growing. It felt like the whole love was showered on my elder sister. And now I'm trying to compete. I felt like I was competing for their love, you get. So that is why I had to bring it from the angle of present, not present. Because then I wanted anything, they would give it to me. Mm-hmm. I want to buy school books, I want to buy party clothes, they would give it to me. But were they there for me emotionally the way I wanted to be catered for? Mm-hmm. No. When I had fears of, because we stayed close to a burial ground, when I had fears of, seeing men coming out of their car, occultic men going into the deep, deep grave, were they there to shield me and tell me everything's going to be fine? No. All I heard was, "Come on, be strong." I'm primary school.
Very typical African parents.
No, but then I look at it this way. That was to them the best way they could teach.
Yeah.
And then the question is, how was their own training?
Yeah.
It's still, there's always a root. So it all depends on how you are also open to change or to be better than how you were trained. It wasn't easy. It's never easy. Nobody has a template of being the best parent.
Sure.
All right. So it's because now we have young people who are expressive, who will tell the mom, sit your mom down and teach them what you see. Do you understand? But then they were limited. They wanted you to be better. You'll be shocked to know that you probably have faith. Do you understand? But that was the best way to express it. That's probably the best way her mother expressed it to her. Well, she really loved you. We, as kids, then, when we're younger, we're going through a lot in our heads. Like, our mom does not love. Do you know what she was going through as a mother? She wasn't sure if she was doing the right thing. Do you understand? Yeah. We all need love one way or the other. But then, because they are mommies, we expect that they should be the best. They should know everything. So it's we need a balance, both the children and then the mothers.
Right. So just before we conclude on all, I know that you are having an independent outreach. I'm sorry if I don't get it correctly, where children are being mentored. So I need to shed more light on it. And after shedding more light on it, I also want you to give us your own 2 cents on child abandonment. If what they should do to curb the high rate at which child being abandoned is going in the country, you get. So yes,
a lot of people would ask, I've been seeing a lot of what are we celebrating, it might not look good, it might not look green now, but the truth is we live here and we can only speak positivity on the land that we are in. If you speak negativity, that's what will follow you. I'm not a pastor, but I know that these are just common things. It's like saying to yourself, I'm ugly or I'm not capable. That's what you are. Before you know, you're a reflection of the things you say. So if you keep cursing the land, how do you intend to grow? How do you intend to make it here? Do you understand? So tomorrow is our independence, and I'm super proud to be a Nigerian, irrespective of how the fuel is going, how the light tariff has gone high. We're good. Yeah, so we're going to celebrate with the kids at the orphanage home in Akuonjo tomorrow. Yeah, so basically we'll have activities like sip and paint, drink, dance. It's not a time to talk to them one-on-one. No, we just want to have fun with them. On the 10th of October, we'll be having the International Day of the Girl Child. So that's where we have the grace to speak with different girls. And that's where you hear stories upon stories. It would amaze. Sometimes it's better not to even ask questions, but then you still need to ask so that you can talk to them and help them. There are cases where I had to involve police. Yes, I would rather not say a particular story. because that's the only thing that rings in my head every time I remember why I always have to ask them questions. You know, at the end of the day, like, if you want to talk to someone, there's this person here, we have a counselor here and all of that. Yeah. So, but it's all good. We intend to distribute clothes. We have people who donated clothes, books, toys, and food stuff for them. So it's just going to be a fun moment with them tomorrow.
That's beautiful. That's really beautiful. So how can one curb the high rate of being an abandoned child or child abandoned in the country?
Okay, so how do we curb child? Okay, so
that's a very big question.
It's a very broad question.
I was like, oh, that's a big one.
I'm still trying to process it, but it's still an individual thing. It's not a government thing. So if I choose to abandon my child,
could help in like educating people about like contraceptives and family planning. I mean, it will go a long way. People knew that.
The government has that platform. I don't know if people understand where Alausa is in Lagos. It's a place that has different hubs, different departments, different offices that caters to different sort of problems. Sexual violence, violence of every sort, rape, anything. All you need to do is go to an office and say, oh, I need the office or a department that handles this. And they are there. They bring out conferences, seminars, talk times where they talk to people about contraceptives, about health, about fertility. Are people there? No. What do people check on the internet?
I feel like people are scared of this stigma. Because I know of people I know of people that say that, oh, I can't use this contraceptive because there are different kind of contraceptives. You have the IUD, you have the one you insert. I can't remember the name. People don't know the difference. People are scared. Oh, there's not enough information about it.
How do you get information from the house? You get information if you leave your house, go to the hospital, and then you ask questions. You get information if you check. You ignore TikTok for a moment. You ignore Snapchat for a moment. You ignore Snapchat for dresses and demure people. And
I'm not speaking of the people that are on Snapchat. I'm talking of like the housewife, the average housewife that is more
they're the ones who use the phones more than you do.
TikTok.
Oh, trust me, they do.
My mom uses TikTok more than I do, and it's
So those are people that should know. Use your phones. You can't think or talk stigmatization when you don't even know anything about it. I can't tell you I'm scared of contraceptive. I haven't even tried it. I've not had a reason to think about using it. So when I do, the first point of call is the hospital. Why do I need to go to Bola Ahmed Tinubu's house? Please, no, what's the government doing here the first thing is to look for a clinic, a hospital. You have a doctor friend, you call, it's medical. Right? If it has gone beyond, if it's a law thing, if it's something that needs rescue or something, there is Alausa. There are hotlines you can call. You don't even, if you don't have to go there, you can check online. Department for rape, department for they are there. There are hotlines, and they attend to people. So Nigeria is not working. Have you even attempted? Have you asked questions? There are a lot of things working. That's the truth. I'm being honest because I'm in this part, the humanitarian part. I know how many people that has been rescued through the government, by the government. But are we even okay? So if you don't know about contraceptive and you're asking her who doesn't also know about contraceptive, how would you know? Do you understand? So if you're checking online,
people leading themselves.
Exactly. If you're checking online and you're not getting the right answers, have you tried asking somebody else in that field? I cannot be asking you when you're not a medical professional. Do you understand? So I think we also need to look beyond certain things, pick up our phone and check contraceptive, and then contraceptive, they speak English. There's certain medical terms you don't understand, but you try to just figure out one line that seems like it makes a lot of sense, and then it's a summary for you. Whereas it's just 1/3 of what you need to know about it. Do you understand? So we always need to reach out to the right people.
Amazing. I think one of the key takeouts for me is being educated
Yes,
on the things
definitely.
that really matter. It's not just about using your phones to do Snapchats, to do Instagram, TikTok, and the other social media platforms, but you need to be educated. Before we go, Balawa, do you have anything to add to what she said?
Yes, I would like to say that, Claire, really, really inspiring work that you're doing.
Thank you.
Like, thank you very much for your contribution to the society. We are honored that
To have her, yes, we are.
Very honored.
Thank
We
you.
are. Thank you.
so
Yeah, it doesn't go without me saying a big thank you to you. Thank you for taking out time out of your
Yes, that's like a very busy schedule.
to come here.
Producer, humanitarian.
It was a lot. Thank you so much.
Thank
I
you for
really,
having
really
me.
appreciate. Thank you.
Thank you
Bolawa.
so much.
Always there for you, babes.
Thank you so much. And with that, we've come to the end of the show. Do follow the conversation on all our social media platforms at iRival Studios and the Red Room Dialogue. Until we come your way, next time, we say bye for now.
Bye.
You are in for a beautiful ride in the red room. All your doubts and fear we cater to. We dot all the I's, cross all the T's. That's what we're here to do. Yeah, we'll take you on a journey.